I don't think there's any question thinking about independent agents as being so supportive of all of our communities. Think of the day-to-day activities they do with each and every business throughout your community, but then in times like this, these crazy times of COVID, of when they really step up. I mean, think of most business owners. One of the first people they probably called up when they started to hear about businesses being shut down by the government and whatnot was their independent agent. Now, I think you could see a perfect example of this if you look back to April of 2019. Now, you may or may not know that April is Distracted Driver Awareness Month, and independent adjusters across the country picked up on a trend. And this trend that I'm talking about were these independent agents, and what they were doing is they were writing a 9 on their hand for every day of the month of April to remind themselves and their community about the 9 people that die every single day because of distracted driving. But it was also a reminder to themselves to remind them that they shouldn't be distracted while they're driving as well.
Not only raise awareness about this terrible problem, but to really just to remind myself daily to avoid distraction. Every single morning, I'm going to write the number 9 on my hand until May 1st.
Now, there's a troubling trend going on right now, and I was doing some research and looking at some of the data, and I couldn't think of a better group of people to help us out. So what do you say we jump into it? Now, I like to think of myself coming from the old school. Some other people might think of me in another way. But you may catch me saying things like, hey, the reason there are so many accidents and so many injuries on the road is because we have too many cars out on the road. Well, I might just be wrong. Don't tell Kristen that. Now, during all of this craziness of COVID-19, there's no question that there are less cars on the road right now. I mean, just look out your window, take a look at your local newscast, and they're talking about this. But also, let's take a look at what all the insurance companies are doing. A good majority, if not all of them, are giving some kind of rebate back to their customers because they're not driving as much. Here in Massachusetts, the Department of Transportation says that traffic has dropped by 50% on major roadways. And they actually reported that the frequency of accidents has dropped in a major way as well. From the time of March 15th through April 1st of this year, accidents have dropped by 73% during the same time frame as last year. But what hasn't happened is a drop in severity. Non-fatal injury accidents are up 5 percentage points. And the fatality rate, now this is really concerning, it's more than doubled. When we look back at the entire month of April of this year, there were 28 fatalities, which in and of itself is a terrible stat. But then look back at April of last year, with normal traffic conditions, there were 27. When the Department of Transportation were reporting these numbers, State Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver, he was saying that although the investigations are preliminary and the findings are still in the early stages, that speed and distraction were some of the most common factors. Yes, there are less cars on the road, but people feel more free to hit that gas pedal a little bit more, jump on their phone and make a text. And just because there are less cars on the road doesn't mean that these crashes are less impactful. So here is my ask. Agents, we need to get the word out about these awful numbers, this awful data, this awful trend. I'm asking you to rally your communities again. Have these discussions. Let them know what's going on these roads. And my final word on this, COVID-19 has put a lot of things into perspective. But when you're getting into that car, when you need to go someplace, make sure that you have one goal in mind, to get to where you're going. Don't worry about getting there early. Don't worry about getting there quickly. Get there. Arrive alive. JB out. Man, this COVID here is no joke. Definitely helping me out there, Alex.